Hey everyone, super excited to bring you another incredible training from our Friday Connect training series. For those of you that are new to the channel, we host these every single Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern, completely for free. Now, if you're interested in joining one of these calls, just click the link that's in the top of the description. It's also in the pinned comment. That'll take you over to our Facebook group where you can see all the upcoming calls, all the upcoming topics, and even leave some suggestions for something you want to see us cover in the future. With all that being said, let's just get right into the training.
Yeah, thank you, Thermel. Yeah, and so guys, if you do what I'm talking about today, it's not just going to lead you to a millionaire agent status. It's going to lead you to $1 million income or more, and that's a complete difference. There's a lot of people are millionaire. Few people create $1 million incomes, meaning they're making 7 figures annually or multiple 7 figures. But it wasn't always this way for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you guys my story. It was a fall from grace and hit the rock bottom and kind of bounce back like a rising from the ashes type of Phoenix story. I think it inspires a lot of people. And when I was going through it, it wasn't very fun. But now looking back, and if I can share it to help others, to help you guys get through blocking points in your life, I'd be glad to do so. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Bob Proctor today and self-development. Some of you guys may have followed Bob Proctor. He passed away. He had a big impact on my life. And so what happened to me was I live here in Dallas, Texas. I went off to college in 2003 to get a business marketing degree. And what happened was my hobby became my profession. And then my freshman dorm, what happened was there was an online poker boom going on, where there's another brick and mortar traditional business model being infused by technology. And what happened is you can now play from home instead of having to get in your car, drive down to a casino, walk into a casino, get in the smoke, and have the slow cards dealing, slow movement of chips. Now you can play a lot of hands really fast at different levels on the internet. And so I put $20 on the poker site, started playing for pennies. Then I started playing for dollars and tens of dollars and hundreds of dollars and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I became a successful online poker player. And I did this for about 8 years. And what happened was I took a rough blow. So in life, sometimes things are not always as good as they seem, or you're too young and too naive to not know that good things don't last forever, which is what happened to me. And that online poker boom ended on April 15, 2011. If you go in the historical record, it's called Black Friday. These major poker sites were, doing unethical things, I'm sure, and they were offshore on islands and things like this. But our U.S. Department of Justice shut them down. And overnight, I woke up one day, and the next day, I had no way of creating an income when I was printing money left and right, over $1,000 a day if I wanted to, right? As a kid, barely in my 20s. It'd been like if all of us have to turn on our real estate licenses tomorrow and all our rental properties, and we had no expectations. So our whole world disappeared. And as you can imagine, this put me into a super great mindset, and life was great, and I was super excited. Or actually, it put me down in a complete depression and sent me down into a spiral downward, which was what happens a lot of times when things happen to us that we weren't expecting. Health issues, deaths in the family, all sorts of life liabilities that come up. And so if you're not mentally prepared to handle this, it's going to affect you completely different than if you are. And so what happened was I was just telling Carmela, as crazy it is, I tell this story all the time. I was driving my girlfriend to the airport, and I didn't get a chance to get back tonight to my to my house. So I stopped at my parents' house, and this is the actual room that I moved into, which is my sister's bedroom, because once that happened, I'd spent all my money as fast as I was making it, and I wasn't prepared. I literally had to move back home with my parents, and my room that's over there that I grew up in is full of storage. So I literally had to build a business out of this room on a little desk about 2 feet wide. And so what happened for 2 years, I played poor me. I blamed anybody and everybody that could accept myself. I blamed God, I blamed the government, I blamed my parents, friends, family, anything, the cat outside, the bird outside, it didn't matter as long as it wasn't my fault. And this is the number one thing that keeps people from changing their life and becoming successful is it's all your fault. Every single thing that in your life right now is your fault. If you don't want to admit it, that's why you're not changing your life. So there's a famous saying by Earl Nightingale that says, every one of us is self-created. Only the successful ones of us will admit it, meaning only the people that have a life that they feel is worth it, that is where they wanted it to be, will admit, yes, my thinking, my thoughts, the actions I created through over a time period led me to this point. Whereas people who are struggling with their physical condition, their mental condition, their finances, they don't want to believe that it was a systematic consistency of thoughts and actions over a year, 5 years, 10 years, a lifetime that led them to their current situation right now. So the first thing was, I fell into this dark depression and everything was going out of control. And literally I got to where I was having like suicidal thoughts. And then it was a very tough time for me. And so if you guys are going through this, what I want you to understand is if you're emotionally bankrupt, spiritually bankrupt, financially bankrupt right now, what's happening right now has nothing to do with where you can go in your future. And so I stumbled into, so I was going on the internet, and I knew I wanted to have a better life, and I knew this wasn't going to get me to where I wanted to get to, but I needed a vehicle, and I wanted to find how I was going to change my life. And so I went on the internet, and I came across a man named Napoleon Hill. And I found his old black and white recordings of his 17 laws of success. And some of you guys have read Think and Grow Rich, understand the power of a mastermind. And I started going down the process, and I started coming across podcasts and reading books on all sorts of different people that you guys probably follow, like Bob Proctor, Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar, Les Brown, Earl Nightingale, John Maxwell, and then even modern day thought leaders. And so in school, I hated learning, I hated reading books, I hated doing book reports. But when it came to business and building skill sets that were going to change my life, I fell aggressively into information gathering, and I started reading books. I read over 200 books on communication, sales, influence, mindset, energies, how our brains work, how our body works with our brain and connection. And I went down the heavy path of self-development. So if you guys are doing this right now, you're on the right path. And what happened was, during that path, I was able to sink into a thought process that if I was born, Carmelo was born, Kyle was born, you were all born, we were one person at one moment with no information through our mind. What changes people throughout their life that creates the people that we see in public today? So we're all having the same chance, same opportunity, same person. The difference is what's put into our mind and fed through our mind throughout our lives that dictates what we think in our mind and what we do with our physical body, which leads us to the results that we have. So I said, if I change the way I think, I can change my future. So write this down, guys. This is the big principle that Bob Proctor talks about. Which one do you think it is? Number one, is it your thinking that creates your environment, your circumstances in the world around you, and the success that you have in all areas of your life? Or is it the circumstance, or is it second one, is it your environment and your circumstances and everything around you that controls your thinking, which is what most everybody believes. They believe it's God, the government, politics, circumstances around them, conditions, their age, their sex, anything and everything, something external. Now, the problem is why I fell into such a deep depression, and why a lot of people do, is because when you're believing that your future is dictated by something externally, you give up all your control to change your future. And when you have no hope and no control, and you don't have control of anything, what does this make you feel? Anxious, depression, you're going to vibrate on the incorrect frequency. And we're going to talk about this as I go through this. But it was the moment that I said, I'm going to take blame for every single thing in my life, even things that weren't my fault. So instead of blaming the poker sites and blaming the government, I blamed myself, because I had made enough money during that time window. If I invested it, instead of partying and traveling and doing the things with it that most people do, if I'd invested into real estate, I'd been financially free at 25, never had to work again. So the tricks we play in our mind was, yeah, I took a rough blow, but my mistakes of what I was doing up until that moment caused it to be way worse on myself than if I'd done the right thing. So we're always playing these weird traps in mind. So the one thing that Bob Proctor talks about, guys, if you go into him, so Bob Proctor essentially took the torch from Earl Nightingale, and Earl Nightingale took the torch from Napoleon Hill, and Napoleon Hill took the torch essentially from all the wealthiest people in the world, if you go down the process and kind of reverse engineer who you're following. But one thing that Bob Proctor talks about that hit heavy with me is what's called the law of vibration. And so a lot of you guys hear about the law of attraction and understand what this is, or kind of understand what it is, or are pursuing information on this. This is a secondary law that's on the backside of what the law of vibration is. And the law of vibration basically states everything's moving, nothing ever stops moving, and everything is always moving or vibrating. Now, why does it vibrate? Because everything is an energy. So your body, if you look at your hand under a microscope, like a high power microscope, molecules vibrating in a compact, tightly compacted to each other. If I hit this desk, sounds solid. It is not. It's tightly compacted energy particles vibrating. This wall, every single thing is energy, right? Now, the thing that you need to understand about energy is it has to have an opposite side to it, right? You understand positive and negative electrons. So if you understand that everything's moving, which means everything's based off energy, and energy has a positive and negative side to it, this allows you to understand what's called the law of polarity. And so the law of polarity states there can't be one without the other. There has to be an opposite of every reaction. So for example, what's the opposite of up? Down, left, right, in, out, positive, negative, sun, moon. Every single thing in this world has an opposite reaction to it. And so it has to be this way. It can't be one or the other. So people that want to seek happiness, they don't understand they have to have these feelings of negativity, being miserable, to even understand what happiness feels like, if that makes sense. You have to have both sides of the spectrum. And so when I look back at my career now, when online poker disappeared, it took me out of my career, by far the worst moment of my life as I was going through it at the time. But looking back now with the success I've had in real estate, looking back, that moment was the single best moment that ever happened to me, which is the law of polarity. It's equal to the energy force on both sides. So at the moment, I thought it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, because my paradigm or filter was looking at the negativity. Instead, if I realized what was happening, I was opening an opportunity to transition into a new life, a better life. And now looking back, I'm very grateful that this happened to me. Okay, so when it comes to Communication and influence in words that we're speaking. You guys are hearing words is what you feel like in your mind, but what you're actually doing is you're feeling energy being perceived by your audio, by your ears. It's an audio energy coming to you. So when you taste something, smell something, touch something, hear something, visualize something, this is an energy. With you have your senses, that's how you're receiving this energy and processing it through your mind, which drives into the emotional body. So like Carmela said before, if you can think the thought in your mind, you can get emotionally involved in it, meaning you can feel it in your body, you can create this in the physical world. And so the one thing about the law of polarity I'm going to talk about here real quick is the number one thing I see entrepreneurs struggle with of why they don't become successful. And if you want to write this down, guys, put fear over here and faith over here. This is probably one of the strongest polarities that people don't understand, or when they do, it changes their life. So faith is over here, fear is over here. What's the difference? They're the opposite of each other, but both are neither real. They're both held in our mind of something that's about to happen in the future that we created in our mind, that we're expecting to happen based off information and things that we've had up until this moment in our life. So fear, oh my gosh, this client's not going to work with me. This deal's going to fall apart. No one's going to join my team. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go bankrupt, right? These are all thoughts that are not real. Faith, something's going to go well. I'm going to win the game. I'm going to close this huge deal. Everything's going to work out. That's where we want, but neither of them have happened yet, but they dictate what we do today, if that makes sense. Now, how do fear and faith relate to each other? They relate to each other in the middle part, which is risk. Can you take a risk? Can you take a risk with your money, with your time, with your emotions, with your relationships, right? So if fear's over here and faith's over here, and the middle point is risk. If fear is too high, you won't take a risk and you'll procrastinate and self-sabotage. If faith is high enough, you'll push past that moment of taking a risk. We're not talking about religious faith, guys. Here we're talking about the faith that if you invest time, energy, or resources into something, that is going to work out for you. For example, the faith that I'm going to go into real estate and try to become a real estate agent. If I believe that I can, I really believe it's going to work, I'm going to invest the time, energy, and resources to keep going until I'm successful. But if I start to doubt in my mind that this isn't going to work, oh my gosh, I made the wrong decision. You start doubting yourself. Fear is going to overwhelm you. And what are you going to do? You're going to quit. And then you're going to go the next thing that you're going to quit, and you're going to go the next thing that you're going to quit right before you quit what you're about to quit. And it's going to be a pattern of quitting throughout your life until you realize it's not what you're doing, it's who you are that's causing you to have these circumstances in your life. And so once I realized how to understand this fear versus faith, I understood how to motivate people and lead people and steer energy levels. And that's how I was able to build this huge organization. So here's kind of like a good parallel, the case study that would make you guys understand this. Let's say you go to a cliff that, where you're looking over a water down below you, is 100 feet below you, and you want to jump off and have fun. Fear at this moment is too high, because if this is the first time you've come to this cliff, what are you looking at? You're seeing water, you're seeing a surface, it's way down there. You hope there's nothing underneath, but what if there's rocks? What if there's, 2 foot deep? What if there's a great white shark down there? I don't know if you guys saw that on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. Some guy jumped off this cliff, and literally as he landed his GoPro, there's a huge great white shark like right in front of him. And not to go off a tangent, but the point is, you're not going to jump because you don't have enough information to have an idea of what's underneath water. So fear is too high. Now let's say all these kids start running by you, jumping off, doing backflips and saying, get out of our way, man, you're burning our day, right? And they're jumping in, and you find out this is a local jump off spot and there's nothing for 1,000 feet underneath there. Now, because of data, because of information, because of knowledge and wisdom, meaning you brought in information about a situation that gave you the confidence to get past the risk point, because you now have enough faith that if you jump off, you're not just going to go splat into the rocks, if that makes sense. So how do we get past fear versus faith? We gain information, we gain knowledge. So every single thing in life, guys, here's another polarity: ignorance versus knowledge. Pretty much every problem, and the root of every problem in the world is ignorance, because someone doesn't know something or doesn't understand something, therefore they don't know how to do it. And if you don't know how to do it, you feel helplessness, you feel hopeless, right? You feel like you're out of control. So the way that you learn, or the way that you get out of this, is if you want to do something, say like video marketing or YouTube or being a real estate agent, you aggressively gain information and educate yourself and gain knowledge, because once you know more what you're doing, you're going to have more confidence to get past that period of taking a risk, if that makes sense. Okay. Now, this is the last thing I'll leave, and I'll open up for questions. I ask people all the time, what builds a business? They all think raising money or work ethic or consistency and this and that. The number one thing that builds a business or builds anything, a relationship, anything in life, is self-esteem. This is the most important thing that you guys have. And self-esteem is the relationship that we carry with ourselves. And if we don't trust ourselves, we can't trust others around us. If we don't believe in ourselves, it doesn't matter how much we believe in what we're doing. When it gets tough, we'll back off and we'll quit. So in a sequential order, it's not just go take action like all these fake gurus that you get. They've never built a business. They're out there on social media lying to people, buy my $50,000 course. Why do they sell a $50,000 course? Because they can't make it in business. So be careful with who you're learning from and what you're doing out there. But the main thing is, if you look at it, action doesn't happen, meaning your physical body moving around this world, unless there's energy before it. Now, energy becomes before action, but how do we create energy? We have to have a belief in what we're doing, whether it's selling houses, investing in houses, selling insurance, starting a restaurant, going into network marketing. It doesn't matter. You have to believe in what you're doing. Because if you don't believe in what you're doing, it doesn't even matter if you believe in yourself, because you're not going to want to do what you're doing. Like if you hate insurance, like I was in the insurance space, I didn't like it. I went into real estate. Some people may be vice versa. They hate real estate and go into insurance. So you need to like or see yourself doing what you're doing and believe that it's something that you believe in. Because if you don't believe in the vacuum cleaner you're selling or the house that you're selling or whatever it is, you're going to burn out and you're not going to have an enjoyable experience doing it. So number one, believe in what you're doing. Number two, it doesn't matter how much you believe in what you're doing if you don't believe in yourself, because this will get tough even if you enjoy it. Whether it's a hobby, a business, a relationship, it's going to get tough. So the underlying key to your success is, can you control your thoughts? Can you control your self-esteem? And do you believe in yourself? Because once you believe in yourself, that gives you the ability to believe that you can do something more in life. And then you just need a vehicle. And that's what you guys are going to hear about in a second when Kyle hops on here, explains EXP, which is the fastest vehicle I've ever seen in business, including out of all the businesses I've built. It's by far the easiest way I've ever created income and life-changing opportunity. But I'll let him talk about that here in a second. But does that make sense, guys? That we build ourselves first, not our business. And once we build ourselves, our business will follow. Most people are fixated on building their business, and they're out there trying to gain skill sets when they start out. They're out there trying to learn how to raise money, learn how to do marketing, learn how to do funnels, learn how to do retargeting. This is all secondary. You build yourself first, then you'll go build all these things naturally. But if you go start to try to build all these skill sets, but you haven't built your belief in yourself and your self-esteem up, when this all gets difficult over here, you're going to back off from this and you're going to sit down and no business will be built. So the main thing is work on yourself. Your thoughts today create your future tomorrow. What you focus on will expand. So now we're running out of time here. Did you want me to open up, Tharmila, to take a couple questions, or did you want me to go for a little bit longer?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go ahead into questions. So folks, if you have any questions, please leave it in the chat box, or feel free to unmute and ask Connor any questions you may have about what he touched upon today. But while we wait for people to ask questions, I have one for you in terms of, how you mentioned EXP model and something. Can you touch upon a little bit that this possibility of you having to become a millionaire agent at a brokerage like EXP? Why can't you do that at any other brokerage?
Yeah, because the vehicle's not strong enough. So it doesn't matter how much you believe in yourself and how much you want to get somewhere. If you're trying to get somewhere quick and you hop in like a 1965 Corolla that's got a blown out tire and a busted up engine, as compared to if you hop in a brand new Lamborghini that's going faster than any other car on the road. So the thing about why most agents never create wealth is they're not classically trained on how to create wealth. And if you look at every single brokerage out there, for the most part, these are income models, not wealth creation tools. So there's three ways to create an income. There's active income, residual income or passive income, and then there's equity models. And so the last two are what creates wealth, not active income. And active income is what 99% of the world spends their whole life doing. This is working a job. This is doing real estate sales. This is flipping houses like I did for years. This would be me playing poker, right? So what an active income strategy is a one-to-one time unit conversion, meaning you're trading your time to do something for yourself and only yourself. And once your time stops, meaning I stop trying to sell houses, get more contracts, I stop showing up to work, and I stop playing poker, my income completely stops, right? So if time stops, income stops. The reason why wealth is created through equity and through residual income is because the relationship it plays with time is different. So equity would be like owning stock, buying a rental property, having a part of a business like venture capitalism, like you guys see a Shark Tank. So let's say I go buy a stock, and I buy a stock today. I did it in 1 minute, went on there, bought it. Let's say I put 100 grand in and it triples. Now it's worth 300 grand. That $200,000 increase to my net worth expanded without time allocated to make it grow because it just went up. I'm out here working on my other active income, putting myself in more equity positions, buying more residual income spots, or getting in more spots, if that makes sense. But equity models can expand. Now, if you don't put time into it to make it grow, that gives you more time of the day, more time in your life, if that makes sense. And this is how people create wealth, is they get themselves in positions that can expand around them without their time being traded. They trade their time to get into an equity position and then let that equity position grow. Now be careful, because equity positions can also go down, right? So that is one thing to take in mind, risk mitigation. But the third thing is residual income. There's a lot of people that have money freedom. When I was playing poker, guys, I had money freedom. A lot of doctors, attorneys, a lot of top sales agents have money freedom, a lot of investors. But until you have residual income, you will never have real freedom. That means time freedom and money freedom, because if you don't have both, you can't experience the things that you want in life. So the only thing, in my opinion, that matters is passive recurring income streams. And so if you look at something like EXP, why it's now the single most successful, fastest growing brokerage ever in real estate history, and why so many people are making millions of dollars over here, is it's because we have the stock awards and the public traded equity models that go on top of the production business that people are already doing at any company, but they have these two extra income streams: stock ownership and then the revenue share model. You know, in comparison to what I did for almost a decade investing, guys, you know, I built a residual income with the revenue share model equivalent to maybe over 500 rental houses in just a little over a couple, handful of years, with no debt, no tenants, no toilets, no termites, no back end management expenses, and I can't be sued. And it's just by far the fastest way anybody can create residual income in the world right now, at any industry and any business. And that's my opinion. And so that's coming off of building over 25 separate income streams throughout my lifetime. And the EXP revenue share model is by far the single fastest way to financial freedom without taking the risks that I did previously by buying rentals. But that would be the reason why you see so many people struggle, is they're at an income model brokerage, like a flat fee shop or 100% shop. So the best they can ever do is keep 100%. Whereas 3 income stream or multiple income stream brokerage models, you can earn substantially higher than 100%, because what you pay into the company versus what you can receive back with 3 income streams leveraged across one model is exponentially higher. So for example, like our cap at EXP is 16K. My revenue share just with one of our 3 income streams is hundreds of percent of my cap on 1 month basis, meaning we're making numerous times what my cap would be if I paid in the company. So once you start thinking about how to create something, don't keep something. Nobody keeps their way to wealth. You build your way to wealth if you create it through expanding equity positions and having your time through residual income to go work more active income strategies and put yourself into more equity positions. But that's one reason, is they don't have a vehicle fast enough or strong enough to get them there. The second biggest reason I see young entrepreneurs struggle is the same thing I did with online poker, is I spent my money as fast as I made it. So when you ask people how much money they need to make, they always have a number in their mind, but you never ask somebody how much money should they keep, or how little money should they spend. So if you make $1 million, but you spent $1,001,001, you're $1 in debt. And so the one thing that I think people don't understand is it's both sides. Yeah, you can make more money, but you can be more efficient and spend less money. So one thing I did was I lived extremely below my means, like way below my means, like old clothes, ripped jeans, like powdered potatoes, snack ramen. And I did this because I knew I needed to, because I needed money, because my money was my tool to grow my business. It was my weapon that I was going onto the battlefield of business with. And so if I was going to go spend it on vacations right when I made it, I'd have to start out at zero again and go back and create it again, right? So start thinking of how to build residual income, how to put yourself in equity positions. And if you guys don't have this type of model like we do at EXP, I pay close attention to it. It's not an accident you're seeing this amount of millionaires created in a short time. And that's the main reason why. You can sell a house anywhere. You can go sell a house at any company in North America, around the world. You can't create wealth unless you have wealth creation tools. And that's what I think the industry is now finding. And that's why you're seeing this exponential wave of #1 agents all around the planet flooding into our company over the past couple of years.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something useful. If you're interested in partnering with our record-breaking organization, the Wolfpack, here at eXp Realty, completely for free, just click the link that's in the pinned comment. We can set up a time to talk, and we can see whether or not we'd be a good fit for each other. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor, click the like button down below, and make sure to subscribe. We're going to be posting videos like this on the channel every single week. And be sure to join the Facebook page. The link is in the top of the description. It's also in the pinned comment. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.